My name is Eva. I am 35 years old. 5 years ago, I met James, and that meeting turned out to be a significant turning point in my life. Today, 5 years have passed since our marriage, and we have 2 children, but sometimes I feel like I still don't know much about my husband. James and I first met by complete chance. It was 5 years ago, after a tiring day, I attended my friend's birthday party. I was supposed to relax that night, but at my friend's insistence, I went. As soon as I arrived at the party, my eyes fell on a man sitting alone in a quiet corner. At that exact moment, he smiled and looked at me, and I smiled back in response. After a while, he came closer to me and, smiling, said, "Hello, I'm James. Do you know anyone here?" His voice was gentle. I smiled and replied, "Yes, this is my friend's party, and it's my first time here." That night, we talked for hours, and I lost track of time. I felt good talking to James, like I was speaking to someone who truly understood me. When it was time to say goodbye, James said, "Eva, this evening will remain one of the most memorable moments of my life." We exchanged contact numbers and got lost in the party again. For the next 2 or 3 days, we chatted over messages, and then James expressed his wish to marry me. I was shocked. I told him I didn't even know him. We were strangers. We had only met just 3 days ago. How could this be possible? But eventually, James convinced me. We both quickly decided to spend our lives together. The early days of marriage felt like a dream. James was always there for me, taking care of every need and paying attention to my little emotions. His eyes always held love and determination, and he constantly reminded me, "Eva, you are my life." Hearing those words made me feel like my life was complete, and I thought I had everything I had always wished for. But over time, James' habits began to change. He was no longer as cheerful and charming as before. He started coming home late, telling me he was tired from work. However, his late nights kept increasing, and eventually, there came a day when he didn't come home at all. At first, I thought it was nothing serious, but as time went on, it started to weigh on me. When I complained about it, he said, "I'm doing all this for you and our future." I stayed silent, but that silence was only temporary. James' constant late returns and occasional nights away from home were starting to worry me, and I began to suspect that he was hiding something from me. One day, I decided I would find out what was going on. When he was asleep that night, I quietly picked up his phone and started looking through his WhatsApp messages. What I found was the biggest shock of my life. There were numerous messages and pictures from a woman named Jane. He had always told me that Jane was just a friend, but the messages and pictures told a different story. It was clear that they met often and had a romantic relationship. The chat was full of loving words between them, revealing a deep emotional connection that James had been hiding from me. The next morning, when I talked to James about it, he first tried to deny it, but when I showed him the messages, he was speechless. Finally, he admitted that he had a past relationship with Jane. They were in love, but her family arranged her marriage to someone else. However, they couldn't forget their love. Now, Jane has 3 children, and her husband is abroad. That's why Jane often invites him over, and they talk, watch movies, and reminisce about old times. Sometimes, he even takes her children out for trips or shopping. His words hit me like a dagger. I started crying as I listened to him. I said, "James, I trusted you and loved you with all my heart. How could you do this? You broke my trust. We can't be together anymore." With that, I started screaming and crying. It felt like my heart would break. I began preparing the kids, packing my clothes and other things. James pleaded with me, begging for another chance. "Just one more chance, Eva. Please. I promise I will never make you cry again." Seeing his desperation softened my heart a little, and I started to waver. Seeing this, James stepped forward, took me in his arms, and pulled me close to his chest. As I rested against him, it felt like I had escaped from a scorching desert to a cool, peaceful place. Slowly, I began to feel normal again, and James kept kissing my forehead and apologizing. After a while, I forgot everything and felt at ease. We decided to move forward together again, starting fresh. The following days were wonderful. James had completely changed. He started taking much better care of me, giving both me and the kids a lot of time. We often went out on trips, and James would buy the kids their favorite things. Our family was filled with happiness, and I was content seeing everything come together. But 2 or 3 months later, James started to lose focus again. He began coming home late, and his attention toward me and the kids gradually decreased day by day. I quietly observed all this for a few days, and then one day, I finally exploded. I said, "James, I understand everything. You've started meeting Jane again." This time he remained calm and said, "Eva, I love you very much, but the truth is I can't stay away from Jane. Please understand, and get used to it." After saying this, he walked out. I stood there, shocked and confused, watching him leave. I realized he had made a decision, and now it was my turn to make one. Instead of crying or yelling, I decided to calm myself and take a shower. As the warm water hit me, my tears mixed with it, spreading over my body. After the shower, I felt better and decided to think through the situation. I had 2 options before me. Either I accept James as he is, living the rest of my life in pain and suffering, or I courageously reject him, leave this house forever, and face the world, creating a new path for myself and my children. After careful thought, I made a bold decision. I stood up, ready to leave this house and say goodbye forever.